I'm Em,
And I'm Lex.
and we're thrilled to welcome you to the Ready, Set, Coach podcast.
Now, we're not just your hosts. We're also mamas, entrepreneurs, coaches, friends, and co-founders of the Ready, Set, Coach community.
What began as a pandemic side hustle has blossomed into a vibrant online community crafted by coaches for coaches.
So when we're not immersed in our coaching community on Circle, we're busy managing our other businesses, navigating the ups and downs of life, and of course, recording this podcast.
This is where we dive deep into epic conversations about life, business, coaching,
and everything in between.
So are you ready, Lex?
I'm set, Em.
Let's coach.
Hey, Lex.
Hello, Emily.
I did something very novel yesterday.
Okay, do tell.
I used an air fryer.
Oh, we had an air fryer conversation. I started. How was it?
No, okay, so it was a white elephant gift for my mother, and she decided she didn't like the idea of the word fry. And so we kept the air fryer, and it was great. I had a friend over last night and I cooked dinner, and so she kind of coached me through it. But I learned that if you boil sweet potatoes beforehand, just for a little bit, then throw them in the air fryer, they cook that much more. It was great. I made like a harvest bowl, and it was really empowering. I felt like, as someone who doesn't love cooking very much, it got me excited.
I used it over the holidays because it's significantly quicker than an oven. And Ashlyn, I'm admitting right now that my daughter is in a phase of life where I really just need to get any food down her. It's not always the most nutritious. And over the holidays at my parents, it was how can I disguise vegetables? So I found like a deep fried like veggie patty. I don't know, something of that she was loving. And instead of heating the oven to 425 and putting them in for 22 minutes, I just opened this thing, press start, put it in for 7 minutes, and bada bing, bada boom. Quick
It's
fix.
great. It was cool. The one that I bought was like $50 from Target. And it looks very sleek. It looks nice on our counter. It's huge. I tried to put it under every single cabinet and nothing fits. So I was like, whoa, next, anyone who wants to design a product, like a collapsible air fryer or
A
something.
collapsible. That's why I haven't bought one. Is because the sheer size. For Christmas from my in-laws, which we celebrated late, we just got the like a top of the line coffee maker, which
Ooh.
is really exciting, but it's massive. And now I'm like trying to figure out where everything goes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these appliances, man. First world problems, eh?
I know. I know. Oh, and then the other fun thing I got, I think I told you this, but I'm sharing now with our audience, guys. I know this is so exciting. I got an electric kettle, and it is so chic looking. We bought it. We had like 4 white elephant parties throughout the holiday season, and we bought it as a white elephant gift to give to other people. And people like fought over this gift. And so when we were at Target buying our next gift for our next white elephant, I was like, Mama's buying this for herself. So it is a game changer. I feel like I'm making more tea. I'm having like more hot water with lemon versus, I don't know if you're like this, Lex, like I'll start the kettle and I'll forget about it all the time. And then Greg's like, were you making tea an hour ago? Shoot.
I just put water in a mug and put it in the microwave for 1 minute and 20 seconds. And that's my kettle.
Works too. Okay, so I feel like you'd be a good person to purchase a kettle for.
No, because I wouldn't use it.
Really? You don't think you would?
Absolutely not. I'm way more into like quick when it comes
This
to
big
food
though.
beverage. This, you
It's
know. Yeah, but it's one more dish. It's one more thing. What's the difference between doing that and like putting it in a mug, 120, done?
I don't know. I think there's like the experience of like pouring it in, and you don't have a hot handle that you have to hold on to. Anywho, next time you come and visit, I will just make you so
You
much
can make it for me. I'm also like
tea.
not the biggest tea girl. I'm more coffee and coffee. Yeah, coffee. What's interesting about this random conversation, these conversation guys are always off the cusp, by the way, if you can't tell, is that we're
Lexi always
talking.
gets so excited about them. She's like, what
Emily's
wildness.
like, okay, I got something. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit record, and then she drops something like air fryer. I'm like, okay, we're here, we're doing this. But some of the themes I'm picking out of this conversation are like quick fixes versus like longer fixes versus this isn't working,
No, it
guys.
was good. It was good. It was basically no, my brain
It's
just
struggling.
melted.
Guys, today there's no transition today. Today the transition is me saying that there's going to be a transition. But a little bit of context to why we're talking about this today. We were on a co-working session with a lady from our grad program. Shout out if you are listening. And this is an episode topic she wanted us to talk about. So your wish is our command. And today we're going to be talking about there's a few different elements, but should you expand your niche? When do you expand your niche? And if you should, how do you expand your niche? So,
And should you
Emily,
eat a quiche with a niche?
and you can make a quiche in an oven and an air fryer. There's the connection.
Oh
Ayo.
my God. Do you guys want us to turn this into a comedy show? Tell us, like, let us know. If the coaching thing's not working, we can just do punny things back and forth. Truly.
Em and Lex late night. Late night for me will be more like 8:30, 8:30 show. I don't know if I can commit to later than that.
You'll just be doing Miss Rachel voices the whole time.
I know. Although it's Coco
Um,
now. She's a Coco fan. She wakes up, she goes, Coco. And then she also screams at me. "Coco." And I'm like, oh, Lord, this is fun.
Wait. Okay, wait. Quick squirrel, and then I promise we're gonna dive in. Jackson does this thing where he'll be like, marshmallow, and he'll open his hands and be like, marshmallow, and he'll cock his head and be like, marshmallow, marshmallow, mommy, and he'll touch the side of my cheek and be like, marshmallow, mommy, marshmallow. And then I'm like, no, marshmallow. And he's like, marshmallow.
Oh, where does he get the marshmallow from? Do you just like marshmallows?
He loves marshmallows. We gave him, like, during Christmas, we allowed hot chocolate and marshmallows into this world. I also made the mistake of introducing him to flavored whipped cream for said
Oops.
hot chocolate. Yeah, I dropped the whole thing on his foot the other day. He now has like a black and blue foot from whipped cream can dropping on his foot.
Oh, okay.
But I'll put the whipped cream in his hand, and it's a marshmallow flavored whipped cream too. And he'll just hold out his hand and be like,
Marshmallow.
marshmallow cream.
Oh,
And
marshmallow. That's adorable.
it's really cute. I don't know where his cuteness comes from. Anywho, okay, so niching. Let's talk about niching.
Greg. It comes from
Yeah.
Greg. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. It comes from both of you. Okay,
We
niching.
have
Okay,
our husbands on the podcast. That's a great
yours
idea.
would be down. Mine, I don't see. I don't
I
even
think
know how he would be. We'd have to like be after. It'd have to be after hours.
oh my God, it'd be so funny, Lex, too. It'd be like, tell us what a cohort is. You'd be like,
Yeah, if you guys want this from us, if you want us, you're gonna have to DM us or email us, or we're not
yeah,
going through the effort of arranging this. But
true.
the seed is planted. Okay, so here's what I would like to do. I would like to break down niching and what that can look like for your coaching business. Because when we think niche, we have some quick, easy associations. Usually it can be like, I'm going to niche down and service solopreneurs, or I'm going to niche down and service e-commerce based business, or I'm a health coach and I'm going to niche down and serve moms. And that's not wrong, but there's other layers of niches. Emily, like what?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's that specialization. So maybe you're serving families, but you're serving families in their executive functioning, or you're serving I don't know, is that what you're looking for?
No. Okay, let me tell you guys a quick
Guys,
story.
I feel like I'm in a class every time I'm on a podcast with Lex, true feelings here. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the front of the class and I have to get the right answer or I'm gonna fail. But she keeps inviting
We
me
do
back.
take notes. We sometimes take notes before this to help us. Okay, here's what I mean. Quick little story, guys. When I first launched the PR Bar Inc. coaching practice, my niche, I played around with different niches. I played around with, okay, I'm gonna just serve female entrepreneurs. I then played around with, okay, female e-commerce entrepreneurs. After a while, I sat down and I started to evaluate the types of people I had been serving. And I identified that they weren't necessarily, yes, they were entrepreneurs, maybe, but they didn't fit into a clear category in terms of industry or job type. What they had in common was personality traits. What they had in common were their mindset. So my niche, rather than becoming kind of more pigeonholed into something like a family became more based on some of the psychographics. And that's what I was teeing up here, Emily, is like, is niching can be more than just a checklist. So today I say I'm servicing, entrepreneurs who are, they're generally type A, they're super motivated, they're people who really, really want to learn the damn thing before outsourcing. So that's become more of a type of human that I service, and they can be an influencer, they can be a fashion company, a tech company, or really all of the above.
Lex, that was gorgeous. That was beautiful. Beautifully said. And I think that is a really good thing to keep in mind too, as you experiment with, I know we're not coaching right now, but like as you experiment with different clients, thinking about the way that you feel with the different clients. You might have a client who comes to you and says, I need to make all of my corporate salary back in the 3 months we have working together. And so that's like a very scarcity, anxious style client. And moving forward after that client, you are not going to be working with scarcity people. You're going to be working with abundant people who are realistic, who don't set $1 million goals in 3 months. There's certain types of personalities, I would say, like
Yeah.
personalities or I'm sure you've worked with this, Lex. Like I've worked with the lazy client before, who like you give them all the homework and they're so excited on the calls and they don't do any of the work. And then they show up on the call and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. And I'm like, did you do any of your homework? Oh no, I didn't have time to do it. I'm so overwhelmed. And you're like, okay, so I know I want a really organized client, or I want a really self-motivated client who will be doing the work in between the sessions that we're meeting with each other. So
Also, I think knowledge level is one we've seen a lot with Ready Set Coach. If you're coaching anything on a business spectrum, from marketing to business to sales, is it a beginner that you're looking for, or are you going after a more advanced clientele? That's another type of niche you can start to think about. So step one here, right, is to expand your thinking of what niche can be. Now, let's say you've committed to one niche, you're rocking and rolling in your business, and then someone who doesn't necessarily fit that archetype comes knocking at your door wanting to work with you. What do you do now, Emily?
you bolt the door and you hide and you say, no one's home. No, that's not what you do. It really depends. And this is going to be something that is going to be very situational, and situational dependent on the person, situational dependent on your time, where you are in your business. And this has happened to both of us, and Lex and I will both share experiences and both pros and cons of it. So I service individuals that are in their age range, if we were doing age range from their early 20s to mid 40s, usually solopreneurs, usually building the business, either have had the business for a year or two or are like constructing it from scratch. And I had an individual come to me who had a very successful business, was in her late 60s, and was looking to get into take her business, but start showing up more for women. She wanted to speak more. She wanted to podcast more. She wanted to be more visible in a way that she hadn't been, because she had this business. And while that's not typically the initial path that I take my clients through that path. It was I was really hesitant to take this individual on as a client, because it wasn't my normal process. It wasn't my normal experience of servicing someone. And I went back and forth on it. And I ended up taking her, and she's been one of my longest clients since. She's a lot more, she always does the work. She's highly motivated. She has success metrics, and she is such a pleasure to work with. But it was definitely like listening to my gut. And there were moments that I thought, I'm talking in real time here, y'all. I thought, I was like, should I be servicing this person? She's so far ahead, but there was something that I could service and offer her that she couldn't figure out on her own. So moral of the story is, each situation is very unique, and each situation is different. And the thing that made me say yes to this individual was, did it connect back to the work that I was doing with my clients? Was it connecting with women? Was it connecting with communities? Was it showing up and getting visible on platforms, on Instagram Lives, on podcasts? Yes. And so I was able with confidence to say I can help her. And also it ties back to my initial motivation and vision.
Hey everyone, Lex here.
And Em.
And if you haven't heard, we did something pretty darn cool.
We sure did. We launched a completely free community built specifically for coaches.
Say it again for the people in the back.
We launched a free community for coaches. Tell them quickly who it's for and what we're doing inside, Lex.
Sure thing. So it's for anyone from the coaching curious to side hustlers to coaches ready to scale. And through the virtual platform that we've built, we've created a safe and fun space to learn, launch, grow, connect, ideate, collaborate, vent, and evolve together.
Nailed it, Lex. Now, while it's free, you must apply in order to gain a free membership. So we can make sure everyone inside is awesome, like us.
Apply today at readysetcoachcommunity.com. So what I think Emily is doing a good job explaining or giving an example of is one category where the answer to this can be situational. So let me kind of peel back for a second. Should you expand your niche? There's a few different ways to look at this. One, you can look at case by case basis. That's what Emily's talking about, right? She didn't, if you go to her website, you look at how she's marketing, she didn't completely change her business. She didn't expand and open her roster to, 10 other women who are above, the age thereof. She's still marketing to her niche, but this was one of those one-off situations where she decided, she did a gut check that she wanted to work with them, but she didn't change her business model. Now, the other thing you can do is expand your business model. And I have an example here kind of showing the other category or route. So again, back to early days of the PR bar, started very much working with entrepreneurs. Knock, knock, knock on my door. Once upon a time came a gal who she was a marketing agency owner. She wanted to add PR as a service. So it was a very different type of coaching. It didn't necessarily fit in my existing curriculum. And at the time I decided to take her on. I used that as an opportunity to see how I liked working with people who were more maybe in the PR or PR adjacent space. And it ended up evolving into an entirely new offering. And it ended up evolving my business and how I position myself. Now, before I went all in on this though, I serviced that client. She ended up being with me for many years. She's still a client. But after our initial term, I sat down, I evaluated how it went, and I made a decision. And I understood the ramifications of what that meant. That meant, okay, if I'm going to do a new offering and service a new demographic, then I need to change my marketing. I need to evolve my marketing. I need to evolve my offerings. So kind of pulling it back, right? There's category one, where just because you work with someone that doesn't fit your archetype, like what Emily said, doesn't mean you have to change your whole business model. You can always take, kind of the one-off situations. However, if it feels right, when people who aren't in your niche come knocking at your door, and you start to see a theme of that, it could be an indicator or a sign that it's time for you to evolve and expand.
I love that example, Lex. And I think that's a really great demonstration of you also listening to how you felt servicing that client. How did it feel versus your original offer versus this new offering that you were putting forth? And how are people perceiving you in the industry? So if this is something that the outside world saw you as, were you not communicating clearly what your initial offer was? Do you want to force something that didn't feel organic? What did it feel like internally for you to make that transition?
It wasn't as much a transition as it was an expansion. I guess we can also say the transition could be category 3, where you pivot entirely, but this was more, it added a new arm for me. It went from, at the time, it was a program called PopFizz Clink for entrepreneurs. This now became what I called PRAS, Public Relations as a Service, and this was agency owners looking to add on a new arm to their existing agency. They wanted to learn how to do and sell PR. So it involved new curriculum. It
Mhm.
involved a lot of the mechanics, almost like a whole nother mini business of sorts. I had
Totally.
to think about being in different rooms now. I had to think about different networking opportunities. And to your point, I had to change how I was messaging. So it was a big undertaking. And that's one thing I also want to like highlight here and underline. If you guys are thinking of expanding your niche, make sure you're understanding what that really entails.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really great point that you weren't just putting lipstick on a pig. You were doing the work and you were recreating, or you were creating new curriculum and new offers and new programming that wasn't already in existence. So going back to the initial question now, Lex, where if someone is hell bent that they want to be servicing this particular niche and someone comes out of the left field wanting something niche adjacent, what advice do you have for them?
First, I think you need to assess if this really is like a rare occurrence or if you're starting to see an influx of this happening, because this might be a market indicator that you should expand or pivot. So, if it's a one off, one time, one person comes to you who's not in your niche, I think that's the instance where handling it like you did, Em, like really evaluating it on an individual basis is the perfect place to start. Let yourself experience it, go through it, then do like a postmortem of sorts and evaluate. If that experience inspires you or leads you to wanting to make a more public expansion in who you're serving.
I think that's great. So if someone came to you, Lex, and they're like, I want marketing support, I want to learn how to start a podcast. How would you handle that? Because that's not so far off. You know how to start a podcast.
Yeah.
You've helped people. How would you handle that? Let's do some role playing.
Yeah, so I mean that has happened.
Yeah.
And the beauty of one-on-one coaching, and this is interesting too, I think we can get into the types of coaching that can allow you to service these things more smoothly. In my one-on-one coaching, that's an easy thing to add to our month to month or week to week conversation. And I have done that. However, you aren't going to go see me making a public business transition to now promoting myself as a podcast coach. I'm not doing that. Right. And I think that's one of the beauties of one-on-one is it allows you to be a little bit more flexible. I know this is like you don't have, let's talk about yours for a bit because I feel like that's your entire model, right? You don't have where my first offering was very like curriculum based.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe yours, while you have the tools and you have trainings, it's always been meeting them where they're at and kind of taking it session by session.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, it's something that I struggle with. I'm currently updating my website with some new pictures that need even newer pictures. And one of the things, and it's funny, it's like it's so much easier to tell people what to do as a coach. And if you're a coach listening, I'm so curious to hear like what your feelings are being coached, but I really struggle with figuring out what type of business coach I am. And the word that keeps coming up for me is a generalist. I'm kind of like going to see your family doctor. I can deliver your baby and I can treat the broken arm. I kind of can do like a little bit of everything. And then if I can't do it, I will refer you to someone that can.
And then here I am, and I would say I think of you as something different,
What
which
do you
is I
think?
think the point you're pointing out right now as like it's very sometimes it's challenging to hold a mirror.
Oh, it's so
Um,
hard.
but to your point, when you're someone who can do a lot of things, I
Mhm.
think okay, this is kind of back to what you're saying. It's easy to be like, yeah, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. And this is transferable beyond coaching, right? I have a PR agency. I could easily fall into like, look, I know how to build websites. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. I could easily fall into expanding my service roster just because I can.
Yeah.
Now, that is not always a smart thing. When I think of you, Emily Merrill, I think of a rent a co-founder. I've been saying this to you for a year and a half, co-founder, not CMO, because truly that's what I think you are. And then you're specialized
I
in
know.
events and partnership and networking. Right? Like that's where you can be a business coach with a specialty in, or you can be a health coach with a specialty in, you can be an executive functioning coach with a specialty in, right? So,
Guys, this is why I keep her around, you know. She's just one of those humans where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. She's like, this is what you're doing with your life. And I think vice versa too. But truly, it's
you and
incredible.
CJ both chose to legally marry me in different capacities.
Which one's harder to divorce? Probably ours.
Probably ours. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
More
You're like,
complicated. It's cross state lines, you know?
yeah, we don't have custody. We'll have to share, send the business back and forth, do visitation rights.
Right.
Uh,
So, okay. Let me kind of recap us so we can bring this home a little bit. So, we started with this general question of should you change or expand your niche? We presented to you. First, we wanted to make sure you understood what that meant. Expanding your niche can mean a lot of different things. And what we've both highlighted in different capacities is there's different ways to do this. You can do this in a one-off situation, meaning you can serve people outside of your niche, but you don't have to change how you market. Or you can make a decision to expand your business. And if that's the category you're going into, then you're going to need to make significant changes to how you're presenting publicly. Are there any other thoughts or considerations or gut checks or to-dos that someone should consider, before they make this decision?
Yes, I think energy. And energy is such a big one in that if you see going to your client or you see the meeting on your calendar and you dread it, listen to that dread or if you're really excited about it, listen to how that client makes you feel because that client has attributes of what that particular niche can be. So you're like, "Oh God, I'm going to go help them with social media management. Why did I tell them I can do this? I can do it, but I hate it." Listen to that and adjust accordingly because just to your point, Lex, I love what you said where you're like, I can build websites, I can do all the things. That doesn't mean that you're now a website designer, except for me, and a brander, except for me. But you like that's not where you want to start a new business on or create a new arm for. So just because you can do the thing doesn't mean you have to do the thing. If you are trying to get away from teaching, or if you're trying to get away from trying to think of like yeah, I don't know what if you're trying to get away from
Remember
whatever
your why, I think is what you're getting
yeah,
to. Like, why did you get into this thing in the first place?
1,000%. And also like what excites you. And just because it excites the other person, that's great, but that doesn't mean you have to be the solution for that person. And that could be a whole different episode, but I think there's so much and we talked about this the other day. There's that feeling of like you want to help everyone and you want to be the solution to everyone's problems. And you could be, but do you have to be? And so saying
You
no,
should.
and you should also listen to like learning how to say no. Saying no is such an empowered thing. So if the person knocks on your door, says, I want X, Y, and Z help, you can say, thank you so much. Here's some resources for you. Barb over there does such a great job focused on this energy, and it's very satisfying giving a meaningful referral.
Sorry, I meant just because you can doesn't mean you
Should.
See, she finishes my sentences
Yeah.
organically.
Your sandwiches. I finish everyone's sandwiches.
Okay, so here's some homework for you guys. And actually, Emily and I have done this at various points through our business. I just did this again over the new year. I want y'all to sit down and think about this is mostly for those of you coaches who are probably already in the game. If you're not in the game, you can think about this in context of just people you enjoy interacting with or not, and think through the last 5, 10, pick a time bucket that makes sense for you, amount of people you've coached, and do an audit of the ones you liked, the ones you could do without, and see if you can figure out if there are commonalities or niches within them that you weren't necessarily identifying to begin with? If so, now it's time to consider, what bucket are you? Is this a one-off situation, or is it time to officially go all in and expand your niche?
All right. Well, Lex, thank you so much for, as always, reining us in the most beautiful way possible, Coach Lex. So, with that being said, you guys have your homework. You know what to do. Let us know thoughts, comments, comment on Instagram, send us DMs, shoot us emails. This is a two-way street, and we will see you the next time on the
Ready, Set, Coach podcast.
If you're enjoying the Ready, Set, Coach podcast, please leave a review wherever you are listening. For more information about Ready, Set, Coach, visit readysetcoachprogram.com.